So today we have a video guide for you on the Ezreal Karma combo control deck, going in pretty much very in depth on card choices, different versions of the deck, mulligans, everything you want to know. So I brought on my teammate Daylton. He wrote a very in-depth guide that's on teamleviathangaming.com. Go there, you can check out the whole guide with mulligans and decks and everything. But yeah, we're gonna get into the deck itself, explain why cards are there, why cards aren't there, and hopefully help you be a better Karma Ezreal player. So Daylton, we're talking Ezreal Karma, and I know you're a big proponent of this deck, correct?
Yeah, pretty much ever since like before it got meta, like during the Ezreal failure days. I was thinking I was onto something, and yeah, it's just way more fun, like the most fun version of Ezreal I can think of.
Yeah, and you've been playing this deck a whole lot. You came up with this guide that we're gonna, obviously this is the video for it, but you've been playing this deck like an absurd amount.
Yeah, I think about 150, 160 games.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So run through people just like the basic gameplay, like high level overview of the deck.
Yeah, pretty much I just mulligan most of the games for pretty much all my removal, if we're not talking about a mirror. And you basically never have to play proactively, right? You just wait what your opponent does. You evaluate like how much damage is it gonna do to you, like the unit. Like you basically give them different priorities, what you want to get rid of, and then you basically just do it. You watch your Ezreal counter, and hopefully you have a Karma, like get some juicy rummages in, and then just collect your burn and finish them off once your Ezreal is leveled, right? Yeah,
wait till turn 10, win the game, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's like the joke. So we have a couple versions of the deck. We've broken down the core of the deck for you, so you can see these are kind of the cards that should be in probably 95% of the Ezreal Karma decks you want to play. And then we have an aggro tech version and a proactive version we'll go over. But first, let's run through the core of the deck for everyone and kind of what the cards are used for, when you want to use them, et cetera, if there's things to talk about. So I'll have you take it away.
Let's begin with Thermogenic Beam. Like probably I've got to say it's like such an awesome card because it's like useful at any stage in the game. I use it like turn 2 for War Chef. I can use it for like, I don't know, a level Tryndamere, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It just gives you so many options, right? And I'm like sometimes sure because it's a slow spell it can be a bit annoying, but I'm like basically never unhappy to have it in my hand because it gives me just so many opportunities to get rid of the enemy board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can use this turn 1 against Teemo or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I like cards like this that are just super flexible. You get to choose when you use it. It does use all your spell mana, which sometimes does suck, like we were saying before, if you're using like 8 mana to kill a 3 health minion, but sometimes you got to do it, right?
Yeah, you've got to do everything to survive, right? But
do you have any general overall basic tips or anything you think that people are maybe using Thermogenic Beam incorrectly, or anything people need to know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like whenever I'm using it, I'm like thinking, okay, is my opponent gonna what is he gonna play next turn, right? Because I'm gonna be completely tapped out for this turn.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure I want to see like what can he play this turn, what is he gonna develop into. Like if I'm throwing it turn 4 on like a minion and just completely tap out, and he's like I'm on attack and I'm against Demacia, he just completely floods the board with his low cost units and then just drops a Bannerman. You don't want to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you definitely have no chance to get back, like to interact at all with the board after that, and the next turn is gonna be like basically -3 mana.
Mm-hmm.
Since you always want to be at like 3 spell mana with the stack.
Yeah, don't be afraid to use it ineffectively if it sets you up for success.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that basically sums it up, I guess.
Yep. So next we have Mystic Shot, and I agree. I think you always want to run 3 of these.
Yeah, like it's just such an awesome tool, right? It can just kill a Zed. It can like you can use it as a burn spell, as removal. As you can see in the list, you don't really need any of the Mystic Shots to like win the game, because like just 2 get excited, so are gonna basically are enough to kill the opponent. So you can use these 2 mana deal 2. That's just pretty good in this game.
Yeah, it's just solid. It's good value. It's fast. Everyone knows Mystic Shot's good. Probably don't need to go too deep into that one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Namesake of the deck, Ezreal. Obviously, you want to run 3 of these.
Yeah, it's basically our win condition, right? Like, dealing 2 every attack, like no matter if it's a burst spell, fast spell, that's like, it sets up like a pretty no interaction for our opponent, right?
Mhm.
Like once he's flipped and we just have a lot of burst spells to queue, he's just dead. And yeah, I don't know, like it's our win condition obviously, and it's pretty disgusting that actually the condition to level it is basically just to play reactive, right? That's
Yeah.
something that I'm always thinking about. You basically just deny the opponent's game plan by just killing his units, and you just fulfill your own. I think that's pretty huge.
Yeah, you're doing the thing you want to do in a control deck anyways, and then you flip them up and win the game.
Yeah.
So how do you stand? So one thing I see a lot of questions that I get on people whenever I play this deck on stream or in YouTube videos, a lot of people don't know when it's correct to play him. Do you ever play him just as pressure in certain matchups?
Yeah, I can. Like less of pressure, but just basically to stay relevant on the board. Like, I really like it to play in the elusive matchup because like they have so many to attack units, and our Shadow Assassin. Like, if I had the choice, turn 3 to play a Shadow Assassin or an Ezreal in the elusive matchup, I'm always taking the Ezreal, right? Because he basically only has the Green Glade duo once he's dropped units after that can reach the power threshold. And otherwise, he's always gonna have to use his Twin Disciplines for 3 mana, which is just an insane tempo gain for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there are certain matchups, I have them further described in the guide.
Yeah.
But pretty much any aggro matchup, I feel like it's decent to drop because he's just generating value as well alongside it.
Yeah, like if you're against a hyper aggressive burn deck, if you're against like Draven Burn or something, like
Yeah.
he's got good stats, and getting the Mystic Shots to remove their minions sometimes is correct. Obviously, you're wanting to use him to win the game, but sometimes winning the game means just not dying.
Yeah, and if he takes 3 damage off my face, I'm more than happy to like lose him. Yeah, I have 2 more copies.
Yep. So then we have Get Excited. So this is one that I see a lot of just different opinions on it. You'll see anywhere between 1 and 3 copies of this in decks, but you've listed this as 2 copies of this being core. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I've seen like 3 copies seems a bit too much for me because like, sure it's a burn spell, but we often have to use Get Excited for like the classic 3 health minions, right? Like something like Callista and stuff. You want to remove Karma, and the annoying thing is that I basically just discard a card alongside it, which throws me so far behind in like answers, unless I have like a Jerry Rig or something I really don't want to play.
Yeah, they're definitely better when you have like the Rummage Jerry Rig package in your deck, but otherwise it's tougher.
Yeah, and like discarding, like what I love about Rummage is that it's burst speed and I can basically draw and get an immediate blocker during the opponent's attack turn. The fact that this is fast is like, I can't use the blocker this turn, like even if I get my ideal discard, and it's just like, yeah, I feel like a 2 of us works for me pretty well.
Yeah, but like you said, if you have a Karma out and an Ezreal that's already leveled up, 2 of these is lethal because 2 of these does 12, and then plus the Ezreal's that's 20.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a 1 turn kill. Just with the 2
12 plus 8. it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Shadow Assassin. This card just does everything you want in the control deck.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you want? It's elusive. It can basically get free chip damage in the game, which is in many matchups pretty relevant.
Yeah.
When you don't get to level your Ezreal, and you cycle while also like develop Living Body. Yeah, it's pretty good. Almost an auto include in any deck from what I see in Ionia decks.
Yeah, it blocks everything, draws a card, and you can get some chip damage in, which is a lot of times relevant.
Yeah.
Yep, she's just awesome. And then obviously 3 copies of Chump Wump. He kind of does everything you want as well in this deck, right?
Yeah, I was like a bit disappointed once he got nerfed by 1 HP because I was playing the deck at the time, and like against any fearsome deck, it felt so good having a 4 health minion. Yeah. It was just whenever I had it in my starting hand, like even if I had 2 copies, I would sometimes keep him because the stat line was so incredible. But even now, it's like getting basically 2 shrooms, which are with an Ezreal and a Karma, are like 8 damage themselves, and which allow us to, if we mix them in a control deck who are pretty draw heavy, we can get some relevant chip damage in as well.
Yeah, it's free burn damage, and it's stuff to discard to get excited. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
He's sweet.
And also great targets.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times I'll use these for like your rummages and get exciteds in the matchups.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's good card. So here's another card that is something that a lot of people get into energized discussions about, and it's Deny. How many copies you want to run in the deck? You always want to have at least one, but tell me how you feel about denying the deck.
I mean, like, recently when I'm facing more Karina, more control decks, like people got super greedy. I was up to 3 denies, and I quickly went down to 2 again because like once I'm against a more aggressive deck, like having 2 denies in hand is just the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
I basically always had to rummage them away, and I'm pretty much just like, if you know what your opponent's gonna play, what's gonna be annoying for you, I think 2 denies are definitely enough because you can save him up. You always like also threaten a deny while also not having it if you don't draw like the deny. He's always gonna play around it, so I do like 2 copies for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a meta call, what you're seeing a lot of. That's another good thing about this deck is it can be pretty flexible based on the meta you're seeing. So if you are seeing nothing but like the Karina control decks, I run 3 at those times. When people are like, what's a good deck to play against Karina control? I'm like, well, Ledros and Karina, you deny hurts them pretty bad. So
yeah, totally. It's just like their turn 9. They throw 9 mana away for just a body.
Yeah,
it's like
9 mana, 6/6, do nothing. So
yeah, pretty much. And we have 4 mana, and then I have our other 5 mana to spend freely. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can definitely see running 3 at the moment as well, but 2 is working fine for me.
Yeah. I'd say 2 is really safe, especially when you're learning the deck. I probably wouldn't jam 3 until you're like super comfortable with it and kind of know what you're playing a lot of. So yeah, probably 2. I like 2 also, but at least 1. You at least want to have a deny somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's always the go-to. Yeah.
Yep.
To have 1.
Static Shock. You have 3 copies listed as core to the deck.
Oh my god, I love that card. It's just so great. Like, it's given us insane progress for Ezreal. It helps us in aggro matchups immensely. Like all the spider decks, like even the discard aggro, are running so many 1 health minions, and just being able to clear them like turn 3, it's pretty good. You're cycling as well, and if you're against a mirror, it's most of the time it's the card you want to deny, and like most decks want to deny static shots from you because it just sets you so far ahead on your Ezreal counter.
Yeah, it targets 2 enemy minions, so you can get 2 ticks on your level up for your Ezreal. This also did just get like a stealth buff, because now if there's no targets, you can still hit just their Nexus. So that got a stealth buff as well, because before you couldn't. If there weren't 2 targets, you couldn't play it. So now that it was a bug fix, so now you can target just the Nexus if they don't have any creatures out too.
Yeah, I'm basically, I'd always say jam 3 in them, because I don't see like words ever being bad. That's
same.
Point, yeah.
So then we have probably like the best removal spell in the game, Will of Ionia, or William of Ionia. This card's a powerhouse.
You're so right on this one. Like, it's just such an insane tempo play. Like, if your opponent drops a Cythria, gets ready to completely jam you up with this fearsome buff, you just play your Will of Ionia, or if you're against like certain buff-heavy decks, like some wacky Braum deck where you played like 2 take cards on his Braum, it's already up to like 12 health. You just play your Will of Ionia and completely reset every buff. It's basically like, as you said, the best removal, because any combo trick is basically countered.
Yep.
That is like buff, like any buff, like single combats and stuff, like don't matter, but it's like they can't play around it. You're always sure that this minion is not gonna hit your face.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can use it defensively as well, especially in the mirror matches. Like, you can just play an inefficient Ezreal or a Karma or something early. They waste all these spells trying to kill it, and then you just recall it back to your hand. It's so good.
Yeah, while also denying another Ezreal trigger and denying heal. Like, sometimes I also, like, when they throw the grasp on my Karma, I'm just so happy to like deny the 3 heal as well after I got those hard-earned chip damage in. And you have a lot of flexibility.
Or bringing back like a Yone is insane.
Yeah, oh my god, yes.
Yeah, card's just good. You always want 3. It's insane.
Yeah.
And then we have the other namesake of the deck, Karma.
Yeah, like one card that is also like heavy in the discussion, right? Because it feels so broken and so uninteractive once you hit level 10. Because like you can't deny anything anymore. It's such an insane card, and alongside all the value she creates, like in some matchups I drop her early, I get some free spells, more options. It's pretty great. We don't have, like, we can also talk about her spell, which is ridiculous. Like, you basically can go infinite for 7 mana, because once she's out, level 10, you mix 2 more Karmas in your deck while also gaining 4 cards.
Yeah.
And you basically never run out of cards. It's pretty ridiculous. And yeah, with all the burn we have as well, like, just her copying it, we have like Get Excited, dealing 6 damage itself. With all the Mystic shots, like in the control matchups where you don't get to level your Ezreal, she's your best friend, because she basically enables you to still kill people in 1 turn. And yeah, she can just, with all the burn you have, she's our second win condition.
Yeah, and Inside of Ages is also a burst spell too, so they don't get to react to it. And like you said, like if you just have a Karma and an Ezreal and this, it just fills your hand. It's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and Karma's really good too, because like if you have multiples in your hand, they work well together, because you can just play a Karma. Your opponent has to answer it, and if she lives for a turn, like the random spell she generates is so much value on its own.
Yeah, it's I agree.
And then we're also running, this is kind of a newer, I mean, not new now, but when the deck was starting to take hold, the Yone became core to the deck. This card is very good.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, it punishes our opponent ever not open attacking past turn 7. Which is such a threat. You get 2 triggers, right? You get a 6/6 body alongside it. And like, I used to run 3 copies of it for quite a long time. Went down to 2 because most of the time they're enough. I can still use the will on it, as you said. But it's pretty incredible. Like, any mid-range deck fears this card.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. Yeah, especially against the Demacia and Delusive decks. It's like if they have their Cytheria delayed by a turn or something, or they want to play another one, which gives their board insane value. Just stopping them from attack, because a lot of these big minions have some attack effects as well, like Bright Steel Formation, Cytheria, right? And them keeping them from attacking alongside stunning another one, it's just like, it's not worth the risk most of the time for the opponent.
Yep. So he's really good. So that's kind of, this is like the core. These are the cards that if you're building this, I would not change this main core. This you keep and everything. But then do we want to talk about the couple other versions of the deck you put together?
Oh yeah, in the beginning okay, so first of all, I basically had one that is more aggro tagged. I used it a lot when a lot of spider decks, a lot of burn decks were around, where basically, which is now pretty much the core, right? Jury-Rig and Rummage. A lot of versions basically just auto-included, because it gives, like, the Rummage past turn 10 giving you 4 cards for it, still only discarding 2 is insane. But yeah, it's basically, I started playing it when I faced a lot of aggro, because I get jump blockers on burst speed through Jury-Rig, which is pretty incredible. Like, he already declared his attackers. He doesn't really have in mind that you have another blocker coming out of nowhere. That's pretty crazy. Pretty good discard target for the Rummage, obviously, with Rummage being such an incredible card, because like in aggro matchups, when I have my Yone in hand, I'm like, I can't do much with it now, or like a deny, you can just basically discard it and get 2 free new cards, which are hopefully removal. Yeah, like, as you see, the most additions are basically just Jury-Rig, Rummage, and I think a Health Potion and a Spirit's Refuge, which basically self-explanatory, also are pretty good against aggro. Keeping your Nexus health at a comfortable level, hopefully. Yeah, but this is basically the version I'm running right now, even though I'm facing less aggro. I just got, like, just the value out of Jury-Rig, getting the blockers for all the Bannerman matchups. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and what's good about it is, like, even so, the Rummage Jury-Rig package is super strong on its own. Like you said, with Karma, you get to draw twice when you play it with Karma, which is just
for 1 mana, which is wow.
Yeah, you get it. So you end up drawing 4 cards. It's kind of nuts. But also, like, in the control matches, this is 6 more burst spells. So, or 7 more with Health Potion.
Yeah, I've just had another gameplay where I was like, in the end, I was trying to figure out lethal, and I started to rummage things, and it just doubled up by Karma with my Ezreal, just pushed 4 damage, and I was like, wait, where is this damage coming from? And just, yeah, it gives us just playing the Jury-Rigs later on for 4 more damage is quite incredible.
Yeah,
and yeah, it often catches me still by surprise, like if I still try to search for more burn in my deck with the Rummage, just that it counts as the burst spell for Ezreal already goes a long way.
Yeah, and the Spirit's Refuge is also really good for protecting your Karma or your Ezreal. I mean, Karma, she's got 4 attacks, so getting back 4 health if you can when you attack or block with her is really good.
Yeah, and like even though most of the time when you have your Ezreal leveled, you're already winning.
Yeah.
But the fact that when he shoots the Nexus with this ability, you also heal if you have the Spirit's Refuge buff on it, which sometimes saved me in quite some games where I didn't get to play my Karma, or she just got killed and I had to survive like another turn to play her again. And he just got me like 8 health back from just queuing 4 burst spells. It's pretty incredible.
Which is really crazy, and it's something that you don't see a lot. And sometimes you can your opponent won't think about it, like just as they're playing through the game, because it doesn't come up too often. But yeah, if your Ezreal has lifesteal, all of that damage is healing you, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, like I even tried 2 copies because once I won like 2 games through that, I was like, damn, I've got to run more copies, right? Like just healing 4, playing it on my Champ Womp or my Karma. I went down to 1 because I like the heal potion as well in the deck. Since it's like burst speed and it's always gonna heal me for 3 as a fixed amount. I think it's pretty good like to run one of both of them. Yeah. But you can definitely swap it around. Try two of the Spirit Refuges.
Yeah, I did the same. I've gone between 1 and 2 the Spirit Refuge, because this is actually almost exactly the same list I'm running as well. But I've also settled on just 1. It is burst speed, but it's also 4 mana. 4 mana is kind of expensive.
Yeah, and also breaks your hand. If I have it like turn 1 in my hand, it's like I can't really. If I don't have a board, it's just a bad card in that regard. And that's where I like the heal potion, where I can also like heal a unit on board. Once like your unit is at 1 health, right, against SI and stuff, it feels so bad using barriers because it's gonna die afterwards anyways. Yeah. So that's where like in the control matchup sometimes I just prefer the health potion, giving me health against all those ping heavy decks like Shadow Isles, for example.
Yeah, so then the other change to the aggro tech version, you're running 2 copies of the Kimpunk Pickpocket as well.
Yeah, I mean, this card is, like, I know it's one of your favorite cards. It's pretty nuts. Generating free value. Like, whenever this thing hits me in the face, I'm like, damn, what spell could you have gotten? And you don't know what you have to play around. Like, if I'm against an SI deck, just having the possibility of having a Ruination suddenly in your hand is quite incredible. And I used to run 3 when fearsome decks were really heavy on the ladder. Because the 3 attack were just insane too. Yeah. But I'm down to 2 right now because I'm facing a lot of Karma Mirrors where I don't want to play any units at all. And then like having 2 of these in my hand, no cycle, it doesn't feel good because I don't want to give them free targets. Yeah. Yeah,
it's such a strange like balance in the mirror match, because if you hit like getting a card that you would have normally in your deck for free is really good, like an extra copy, but having a creature out sucks because then they get to target it with Ezreal. Yeah.
So. I mean, in the beginning when I was like when all people were running Ezreal Freljord, I was still running 3 because that card, if it ever hits the Nexus, you're just gonna completely happy. But I basically only went down because of the mirror matchup. Otherwise I'd still run 3 of these because it's such a good card. Yeah, it's one of those cards that it baits removal because it has to be dealt with. I mean, if this hits 1 time, the value you've generated is more than the card's worth. And if it hits 2, you probably win. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but honestly, 2 cards from this is like, it bumps up your win percentage so high. Yeah, I had like 3, or like when I was like climbing to High Master, I had like where people already know that this card basically wins games. Whenever it hit like the 2nd time, people already conceded on the spot. Yeah. Like it's not often, but like 2 or 3 people who are playing like a control deck, everyone knows how big of a deal it is to get a free value spell, and especially when you get a War Mother's Call off of it. Oh yeah, that feels great. It's so fun. But yeah, so this is this is like the version that you play teched more against aggro, and then we have a more proactive version. There it is. Yeah, which I think only runs Solitary Monks alongside it as elusives. Yeah, exactly. And I think, what did we run there? Key Guardian. Key Guardian is an interesting card. I was like a long time I was not sold on the card. I hated to play it. It felt like I'm doing nothing, even though I'm drawing like a card. But I didn't really like it. In this version though, like just playing it on a Karma together out for free, not having to worry about like him just 1-for-1ing that with one spell. Feels pretty good. I'm at 1 copy right now. I don't know, what's your opinion on the card? I'm still not completely sold on it.
I do like it. I think in this version it's better because you are running things like the Solitary Monk. Like she's pretty good if you can get barrier on her. It is burst speed too, and it draws a card, so I don't think it's bad. I don't know if you ever want more than one. I think more than one's a little rough, but I mean, I've run this version a couple times. I don't run it as much just because I'm seeing a lot of aggro where I'm at, so I'm not running this as much. But Key Guardian on Chempunk Pickpocket's probably my favorite thing to do, because again, like being able to get in with this dude is so strong. So that's why in this version you're also so the big difference, we're running 3 Chempunks, a Key Guardian. We have 3 copies of the Solitary Monk, and this one's running 2 Spirit Refuge and 3rd Yone.
Yeah, the Spirit Refuge just gets better, right? With another 4 attack minion that can basically give us another +4.
And with a 3rd Yone.
And with a Yone, you can see this deck is way more tagged against like mid-range to control, or like any non-Ezreal control deck, because again, having another minion in there often doesn't feel good because it's such an easy target for him, like just a thermo or get excited. But otherwise, I really had fun with this version as well. Just felt like it only increased my control in mid-range matchups like by a little bit because I got more chip damage in early. Because this girl slaps, like the 4 damage just on the Nexus every turn, it's quite insane, but it just made my aggro matchup so bad, so
yeah,
I went back to the other version.
Yeah, she does a lot, and like she can generate so much value getting back your Shadow Assassins or getting back Yones and stuff as well. Solitary Monk, she's a card that I think all of us slept on when the game first came out, and then once people started realizing, man, this is just a 4 attack elusive for 3, it's kind of insane. Even as that.
That's true. Like because you often also have an empty board, right? Because they immediately remove your pickpocket because they're so scared of it. And most of the time you don't really have a really good turn 3 play. Like Shadow Assassin is nice, right? But it's just like it trades with a 1-drop of any aggro deck, which is pretty bad. And that's where the Solitary Monk is just pretty good, like in a lot of situations, but again, it's really meta dependent which version you like to run.
So whereas the other one you're wanting to, that one's teched specifically more against aggro, what would you what would make you want to play this version, like if you're seeing a lot of cards in your meta?
I think like I ran it a lot when I faced a lot of control decks, which like I had to get early damage in because they wouldn't like give me the option to level my Ezreal, and just getting like early chip damage with the Solitary Monk, because I was seeing like Shadow Assassin wasn't right enough. The mushrooms sure are a nice bonus, but like sometimes I just got them back like down below 10 health by turn 5 because they didn't have the plays early, right? There was like the grasp coming down turn 4 or something because they played something earlier. I still had like a Spirit's Refuge, she gets another attack in. So basically against control decks you want to run this version because it's a lot more proactive. You get those free attacks in, and yeah, it just adds up.
Yeah. If you were facing a lot of the mirror match, what would you recommend?
Ooh, that's a tough call actually. I mean, I was like, recently I actually had the mirror matchup of my version against a Solitary Monk version, and in this game I didn't have the answers. I didn't have the Get Excited, the Thermo Beam, and I've got to say it felt pretty bad against it if you don't have the removal. So I can definitely see it actually being good in the mirror matchup because you can just try to rush him down early, like before it counts where Ezreal is leveled up. But I'm actually not sure. But I think in the mirror matchup this should perform better because the little Jerry rigs that you drop with the 1 health are just free static shot targets, and they only ever get useful once your Ezreal is leveled, which is never happening in the matchup because then the burst spells are not gonna matter anyways. So I think this version is better in the mirror matchup. So
we're probably not going to go over specific mulligans. We have the entire guide you wrote over on the website, and the link's in the description so you can see pretty in-depth mulligans for if you guys are looking for specific matchups. For more like all of the main, tier 1-ish, high tier 2 decks you're going to be seeing. But do you have any just general mulligan strategies that you're kind of implementing in most of your games?
Yeah, in a lot of matches I like Thermal Beam, like I said, I love the card. It gives me a lot of flexibility. Like anything that is not a complete control deck, which is only like running Broad Awakening, like there's eye decks. I'm pretty much keeping Thermo every game. Because like just having it as an option against like buffed units and stuff like where like they get out of normal removal range of 3 health. I love that card, so I'd say this is definitely a keep in a lot of matchup alongside like stuff like say Shadow Assassin, because it's like again just a free cycle tool while giving us another body. Static Shock, like I said, because it just gives our Ezreal 2 triggers at once, and probably would have to say Chump Womp as well, because in a lot of matchup it actually matters to get the shrooms in early for some early damage, and yeah, it's still another body that they have to deal with, and that often it trades down because of the 3-2 units and aggro decks and stuff, but yeah, I think it's still matchup dependent. You can see it in the guide, but these are like 4 cards that I'd consider pretty important.
Yeah, I think one thing that makes the deck a little more skill testing is you do have to mulligan for the matchups you're playing a little more specifically with this deck, and you have to play differently depending on what you're playing against as well. So yeah, the guide has a lot of good information on that.
Like, yeah, I think the game plan is pretty easy, but as a general rule, it's good to know that you actually don't have to be the aggressor. Like, you're never on a clock with this deck, which is pretty insane. Like, if you're just passing for 6 turns in a row against another control deck, most of the time you're more than happy to do it.
Yeah.
And you're basically never forced to act like out of fear of losing the game, because again, like the longer the game goes, the more likely you're gonna win.
Yeah, that's kind of a big joke that kind of circulates. My favorite thing to do in a card game is do nothing. Any turn I can just draw a card and pass the turn, I'm super happy. That's why I like to play decks like War Mother's Control, where you just like don't have to do stuff. But this deck, you even get more rewarded for literally doing nothing.
Yeah, like I feel like this game is just way too strong. I can't believe that they didn't touch both of them in the patch, but yeah, I think you only have a hard time against like really wide boards where Static Shock is not gonna help you a whole lot, because you always have to throw your removal out and you can't like keep up with them, because it's like most of the time cheaper once you have like your Mystic Shots out. You have to start using your Get Excited for 3 mana, discarding another card. So wide boards are definitely pretty awkward to deal with. And really beefy minions, like really strong minions that are above the 3 health threshold, since you only have Thermo and Will for it.
Yeah.
And they're quite expensive in that case. You're most of the time tapped out as well. So these are like 2 things that are really rough for this deck to deal with. But apart from that, I feel like you can win any matchup. It's like I haven't faced like any matchup that is really like in favor of my opponent. Like
where you're like, I had no way to win that game, kind of a thing.
Because most of the time I'm like thinking back, okay, maybe I shouldn't have used the Thermo on that turn, tapping out, because his next turn is like his Bannerman turn or whatever. And yeah, you often have like there's a lot of things to do wrong with this deck, but yeah, that's like the cool thing about this deck, that you have so many options and you always have to see like which line you want to go. And what's your basically you only have to ask yourself what's the opponent's win condition and not yours, because you just win if you don't die to his early.
Yeah, deck is super cool. If you like combo decks, if you like control decks, give it a try if you haven't already. If you don't like either of those type of decks, it's probably not for you. So hold back all those comments that you're like, I like to play aggro and this deck is boring. Like, just don't play it. Like, it's not for everyone. But I do think that the deck is fairly strong.
Yeah, for sure. If you're can be a little bit patient on your cards and don't have the need to play like completely nut turns every turn. This is just an incredible deck to climb with. Like, sure, games take relatively long once you're in like a control mirror, but most of the time against like mid-range to aggro decks, it's of course like less time efficient to climb, but you're gonna win a lot more.
Well, sweet. Did you have anything you wanted to shout out at the end? Anything?
Not really. Like, check out the guide, of course. I put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
Like, I think my like sometimes when I'm playing tournaments, I'm streaming it. It's on the site, but I'm rarely on there. So definitely check out our Discord as well, because we're pretty active there. We're answering a lot of questions, and you can also get in contact there with me if you want to know more about the deck and stuff. So
Yeah, if you want to read, the guide should be up now on just teamleviathangaming.com. There's more in depth on each specific matchup, mulligans, gameplay strategies. It's really well written, so go in there, check it out. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on and giving some insight onto this deck.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we had for you. So you guys are amazing. Keep being awesome. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought, if this was helpful, if it wasn't. Tell us to kick rocks, whatever. But until next time, you stay saucy. Sick.
Heart and mind as one. Where there is life, there is hope.
I really like this deck, guys. Pretty sure Fizz got leaked that he'll be it didn't get leaked that he's going to be in the next expansion, but there are voice lines for him. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like what you saw, it would mean a ton if you would hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification to be notified when I post some videos, share this with your friends, all that kind of stuff. You're amazing. I love you. And until next time, you stay saucy.